Canada just announced the end of its decades-long economic relationship with the United States. And this isn't gradual decoupling or strategic repositioning. Prime Minister Mark Carney called it a rupture, a complete break from the economic model that defined Canada for generations. If you think this is just political posturing, you're missing the biggest realignment in North American economics since NAFTA. Before we break this down, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. This story is reshaping the entire continent. Mark Carney's announcement came with brutal honesty. The decade-long process of an ever-closer economic relationship between Canada and the United States is over. Not pausing, not evolving, over. Carney stated that Canada-U.S. economic ties that were once strengths have now become vulnerabilities, and he's backing those words with $50 billion in projected losses from Trump tariffs alone. Here's what makes the Carney-Canada economic strategy so dramatic. This isn't a transition. It's a rupture. Those are Carney's exact words. The new Canadian budget estimates that U.S. tariffs and the uncertainty they create will cost Canada approximately 1.8% of GDP, translating to about $1,300 for every single Canadian. And Carney warned that without action, those losses will only accelerate. The Canada Economic Independence Plan unveiled in Tuesday's budget represents the most aggressive shift in Canadian trade policy in modern history. Mark Carney trade policy breaks from decades of continental integration to focus on what Canada can control, building at home, boosting productivity, transforming government efficiency, and critically, diversifying trade partners to reduce dependence on the United States. This Canada-U.S. trade rupture stems directly from Trump tariff policies that have destabilized cross-border commerce. But Carney's response goes beyond reacting to tariffs. He's fundamentally restructuring Canada's economic identity. The Prime Minister made it clear, nostalgia is not a strategy. The U.S. has changed. That's their right. But we must respond. That is our imperative. The Canada economic transformation Carney outlined focuses on institutional advantages the U.S. can't replicate. Strong banks providing reliable financing, rule of law that protects investment, institutional capital ready to fund domestic growth. These aren't just talking points. They're the foundation of Canada's post-American economic model. Mark Carney's budget priorities reveal how serious this shift is. Protecting and empowering Canadians through domestic investment, driving lasting prosperity through productivity gains, making government work more efficiently, and most importantly, creating greater independence through diversified trade relationships that don't rely on U.S. market access. The Canada Diversification strategy acknowledges a harsh reality. Trump's America is no longer a reliable economic partner. The Canadian government is treating this not as temporary disruption, but as permanent structural change requiring complete strategic overhaul. Carney emphasized that technological change is accelerating. The world has become more dangerous and divided, and Canada's former strengths tied to America have become liabilities. This represents the biggest shift in Canada-U.S. relations since the 1988 Free Trade Agreement. The Mark Carney economic plan doesn't seek to repair the relationship. It seeks to replace it. Canadian trade independence means building new partnerships across Europe, Asia, and Latin America, while reducing vulnerability to unpredictable U.S. policy shifts. The Canada budget response to tariffs allocates massive resources toward domestic manufacturing, critical infrastructure, and trade diversification. This isn't defensive policy. It's offensive restructuring designed to turn crisis into competitive advantage. The question now isn't whether Canada can survive without its American economic partnership. Carney is betting Canada can thrive by ending it. The Canada economic rupture with the U.S. marks the beginning of a new era where proximity no longer guarantees partnership and stability matters more than size. Subscribe now to follow how Canada's economic independence transforms North American trade and what it means when your closest neighbor becomes your biggest risk.